projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing this week, man?
I am good, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. I am tired as hell, as we just talked about. It's been a long weekend, but I'm here, and we are here to talk sports like we
Yes,
always
sir.
do. Uh, we'll start college football, of course, like we usually do. No Bama this week, bye week. Getting ready for that huge LSU game next week. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit. I guess we'll start the big story from yesterday. Greg, would you say? I guess Kansas upsetting Oklahoma, right?
I'd probably say that's a good place to start for sure. kind of
Yeah,
a
the Jayhawks just took it too. I mean, they didn't blow them out, obviously, but just Oklahoma could not stop them. And uh, Kansas, a late drive,
mm,
converts fourth down, scores. Uh, Takes a 38-33 lead on Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a shot at
mhm,
the end zone on the final play, doesn't get it. And now a team at the beginning of this month that we were talking about, hey, maybe they're national title contenders. Now after a bye week, they struggled to beat UCF, and now they've lost to
mhm.
Kansas for the first time since 1997.
Yikes.
Um, yeah, I
That's a,
just no one seems to be separating themselves at all this year.
no, no,
Um,
not at all. I'm like it's kind of weird with OU. I mean, you get the big win over Texas, and then like I said, they had the bye week, and usually you come back stronger after a bye week, and they look flat against
mhm,
UCF. But to have it happen 2 weeks in a row like that, I mean, Kansas is a decent team. They've come a long way under Lance Leipold as a coach. Heck of a coach, by the way. I mean, what he's done in his couple years at Kansas
mhm.
has been phenomenal. Um, but just the fact that no matter what, I mean, there's really no reason why OU should be losing to Kansas. I'm sorry, they're not a bad team, but I mean, I
No, just
you
not
know
the talent
it's
difference
just not
between the two
yeah
programs. Yeah.
not
And you
supposed
know
to
what?
happen.
Mm-mm. And now that creates a five-way log jam at the top of the Big 12.
Yeah, it does.
Oklahoma, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Kansas State are all 4-1 in the conference.
Yeah, I see.
Kansas sitting right there at 3-2, right behind them, and then West Virginia, the
Yeah,
surprise team of the conference this year, they're right there
yeah.
at 3-2 as well. So, uh, we kind of after the Red River, we kind of assumed that we'd probably see Oklahoma, and Texas again. Of
And we
course, that could
might
still
not.
happen.
Could
Yeah,
happen
but we might not. Um,
because a lot of teams are starting to come together. I mean, Kansas State started off the season rough. They've looked good the last couple of weeks.
hmm
Oklahoma State seems to be getting it together. Um, and then, Bedlam this week. I mean, heck, I don't know if maybe OU was looking toward to Bedlam, but I mean, that's no longer a guaranteed win. You know, and talking about Kansas State, I mean, they're going to Austin, but I don't think Texas. I mean, Texas beat BYU yesterday, but I mean, it's still Malik Murphy is only his second start, and K State seems to be a much improved team. So that might be a very interesting game Saturday in Austin.
Yeah, elsewhere around the Big 12 this year, Texas had an easy time with BYU. Kansas State
Yep.
blew out Houston. West Virginia went to UCF and won on the road. Iowa State, they're another one of those teams rounding into form.
Yeah.
They handled Baylor fairly easily. And
Right.
Oklahoma State blew out Cincinnati at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned next week. Yeah, there's some big games in
There
uh,
is.
the Big 12. Like you said, K State going to Austin. That's that noon or 11 o'clock Central Fox game. Then Bedlam's at 2:30. Kansas travels to Iowa State next week.
Yeah,
So they're going to be, I think, some big things happening in the Big 12.
for sure.
And this just kind of threw Like everyone kind of
Everything fell
assumed that
down.
if Oklahoma won out, they might be a legit playoff contender. They're playing great,
Yeah,
and maybe still, but that just throws another wrench in
right.
just a
Because now
like I
there's
mentioned.
no room for error at all.
Exactly, yeah. Nobody has any room for error. Just nobody looks impressive this year. Even Washington, a team we all uh,
Man,
they were
last two
looking.
weeks.
Yeah, last two. They got the offense came back this week, but the
Yeah,
defense let up. Stanford was just moving it on them.
yeah.
And yeah, it's just weird. It's just one of those seasons. I mean, we look at Georgia. It's almost 2007 levels of crazy.
Yeah,
We haven't quite reached that because we haven't had
but
like UCF at or USF at number two. We haven't had that
right.
kind of craziness yet. Or
But
uh,
we still have the whole month of November.
that's true. We still have a whole lot of time left. Yeah, it's just one of those interesting things. Nobody seems to want to pull away, proclaim themselves. Georgia, they're starting to look a lot better too.
They
Even
are
without Brock Bowers handled Florida,
right.
but I don't think anyone really thought that Florida would.
Win the game. I thought
Yeah,
it might be a little closer than what it was.
and we thought maybe early Florida took what a 7-0 lead, then held Georgia to a field goal, and then after
Yeah,
that Georgia ripped off
yeah.
what
Georgia's
30.
like,
Yeah,
Georgia's like, not today, guys.
yeah, Lad McConkey. That's just you're getting beat by a receiver dude named Lad McConkey. I mean, that's just got to be embarrassing, right? Uh,
Great Irish folklore.
Yeah. Kid's talented, not trying to take
He
away
is
from
a
that, but
talented guy, but
and
that's just a wild name. Like, I mean, I'm sure like being a college football player growing up, he had to be a tough guy because people are gonna mess with you with a name like that. Like, that's guaranteed. People are just gonna mess with you, so you have to be a tough guy.
yeah, like you said, that's something straight out of Irish folklore that should be like an old Braveheart
Right,
style movie.
exactly.
Also, how much of a shame is it that I don't think that Vern Lundquist would just love to yell that name?
Oh, Woody.
Lad McConkey. Uh, um, But yeah, elsewhere, the big games yesterday. I guess the marquee matchup was Oregon Utah, and that ended up being just nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think that just
Oregon.
kind of shows you how good Oregon is. I mean,
Hmm.
I think, I mean, it's one thing to, I mean, I'm not shocked they beat Utah just because, you know, overall Utah just doesn't have the offensive firepower to stay with Oregon. But to go into Salt Lake City and completely dominate like that, that doesn't happen very much.
No, they out
And
Utah'd
Kyle,
Utah.
yeah, and that's this is a like we said an earlier episode. This is a completely different Oregon team.
Hmm.
They're physical, but they still have the firepower that they've always had. But now you
Hmm.
got to take them serious because they're not going to get punked.
No,
They're
yeah, and
not the soft, fast but sensitive, Oregon teams of the past where, oh man, they could put up 80 points, but when they play someone that's physical, they're gonna look horrible. It doesn't happen anymore.
no, yeah, they it was impressive. You got to think right now. Like I think right now, if you asked me if they got another shot at Washington, I think Oregon would win.
Yeah, I mean, based
Um,
off since that game,
hmm.
I mean, they look much better.
Yeah, and their team, they're getting to the tough part of their schedule too. This was
Yeah,
the first of the real meat of their schedule. They get
yeah,
they get a surprise. Maybe a tougher than they look Cal team um, next week, and then they get USC at home. Then they end the season with Civil War,
right.
which maybe the stakes are a little lessened in that after yesterday, as Oregon State fell to the Wildcats of Arizona in Tucson.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's one I wasn't shocked by. I mean,
mm-mm.
simply because just because of the wildness of the season, but also every week Arizona keeps showing us that they're getting better.
Yeah, that's
You know,
another.
there's
You
a
mentioned Kansas and the coaching job down there. That's another great coaching job there in
heck
Arizona.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, you look at it. I mean, you look at their losses. I mean, started off the season at Mississippi State. They almost pulled the comeback there. Their other losses are Washington. You know, lost by 7 there. Two definitely should be USC. And
Hmm.
then, I mean, since then, you know, blew out Washington State and then got the very good win against a talented Oregon State team. I mean,
Hmm.
Oregon State is nothing to. I mean, they've had a heck of a season to this point. So I mean, a great win for Arizona. I mean, that's something. I mean, Arizona's now 5-3, on the verge of bowl eligibility. So I mean, yeah, the job that he's done at in Tucson, I mean, heck of a job because they were a bad program.
Yeah, they were. Rich Rod and did them no favors, and they just
Rich Rod and
struggled.
Kevin Sumlin was there, and
Hmm.
I mean, both were just horrible.
Yeah, and they get UCLA next week at home.
Hmm.
Then they go to Colorado, home for
Hmm.
Utah, and then the rivalry at Arizona State to end the
I
year.
mean,
So
it's not the easiest route to get to six, but definitely possible.
yeah, but with the way they played, I think
Oh
you're
yeah,
pretty confident. You're like, yeah,
make it man.
they can get one and get the bowl eligibility
Oh
out
yeah,
of
for
that.
sure.
Um,
Out of those four, I don't.
but yeah, that leads, so we still USC survived Cal, so they're still technically second place there.
Yeah,
Washington
but
still leads. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, at USC, I think people have just lost
Oh
all
my
faith in
God.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a team that I mean any other team is beating. Like, I mean, Cal is not really a good team at all.
Mm-mm.
Let's
No.
be honest. I mean,
Mm-mm.
they're not good. And honestly, any other team would have slaughtered USC yesterday. I mean, just
Hmm.
Cal just didn't have the same horses to keep up with USC to let them back in that game. I mean, Cal was blowing them out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and hell, it still came down to Cal decided to go for two in the
Go for
win instead of
two.
the tie,
Yeah.
and they
I
didn't
mean, you
get it.
can't blame them for that. I mean,
No, no.
you like to see that in that situation because, I mean, they're
Hmm.
not expected to be there. So why not? I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't hurt you. I mean,
But yeah, the Pac-12 is kind of what we thought might happen. Some of these teams
starting
knocking
to,
each other off, but I think it's
yeah,
the scripts flipped a little to who we thought.
yeah,
Washington State is just free falled. Um,
they really have.
they're now 1-4. They're
1-4.
they're around tied for second to last place. Among their 5 1-win teams in the
Yeah.
Pac-12, and it's
Yeah,
Colorado,
four.
Cal, Arizona State, Washington State, and Stanford.
Yeah.
UCLA is a team that's looking better than we thought. They beat
Yeah,
Colorado
that
yesterday. Really shut down that Colorado offense.
they did.
Was kind of surprised to see that from that UCLA defense. Not really known
Hmm.
for keeping teams low. Now we're wondering, all that hype around Colorado, and again, still a great job that Deion Sanders has done there, and Shador Sanders is playing the best he can, but he's just getting murdered.
Yeah, that line is atrocious.
Yeah. So
Like
you
he
wonder
has
you
no.
wonder if they got 2 wins left in them, and that schedule's not
Yeah,
looking like it.
I doesn't look
Mhm.
like it. And just that's the thing. Sometimes, these younger guys, it's a lot of their first times just with, a lot of losses, in a row
Mhm.
like that. I mean, how do you bounce back from it? I mean, when, honestly, too, it's only Dion's third year as a head coach in college football.
Mhm.
So he's still learning a lot himself. So,
Yeah, and they'll get. You imagine they'll get better recruits on that offensive line in there, and
Oh yeah, yeah. I
he'll
mean,
figure out what they
it'll
need.
get better, but I mean, it's
Hmm.
kind of is what it is at this point. And that
Hmm.
schedule is nothing nice at all. I mean, Oregon State. Oregon State coming off the loss. I mean, that's gonna be a tough one. Arizona.
Hmm.
At Washington State, that might. Who knows? I mean, they might be able to beat that Washington State team at this point. I
Hmm.
don't know. And then at Utah, probably not. But
But yeah, it's one of those years, especially in that bottom half of the Pac-12, you just don't know
you don't know.
what's going to
Basically,
happen.
yeah, basically Arizona on down. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at the standings, yeah, it's Washington's in first place, 5-0. Then you got USC behind them at 5-1, Oregon behind them at 4-1,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got Oregon State, Utah, Arizona, and UCLA all
All
three and
three and
two,
two.
and then that's where it drops off to
Yeah.
your one loss teams. But yeah, it's one of those. And next week, couple big games. You got uh, Washington visits USC, and who knows now the way Washington's played last couple weeks, and that
Yeah,
USC
that's
offense can still score points, so that might be a
yeah,
hell of a shootout.
quite the shootout.
Hmm. And then you
Quite
got
the shootout.
yeah, Oregon State's visiting Colorado, and again, you
Mm-hmm.
would think Oregon State's talented and suited to beat up on Shador Sanders, but who knows? Maybe Dion gets those guys hyped again, and they come back,
Yeah,
and then UCLA visits Arizona too. So that's going to be a
that's a
interesting one to
that's
watch.
a lot of interesting games in the Pac-12.
Hmm. Um, but yeah, see elsewhere, I think the only other matchup between ranked teams, I believe, was Duke visiting Louisville. Louisville shuts them out
Just
23-0.
housed. Yeah,
Good win for the Cardinals.
yeah,
Bouncing
definitely a
back
good one.
from their bad win, or bad loss.
Yeah, the pit.
Yeah, to
Just a
Pitt.
weird loss. Just a
Yeah, it's
bit,
still weird,
just
especially. No, go ahead.
no, just probably about to say the same thing. Just kind of, just how they've looked in all the other games for the most part.
Hmm.
Just, I mean, if this Louisville team played Pitt 10 times, they're winning 8 or 9 of them.
Hmm.
It just so happened the one that mattered, they look horrible in. But sitting second in the ACC there, 4-1 there. But this whole ACC, it's really falling apart quickly. Like what? We're well, it's about 3 weeks ago. We're like, man, Florida State might have a tougher road than what a lot of people thought after they knocked off Clemson.
Hmm.
But a lot of these ACC teams have really started to fall hard. I mean, North Carolina um, lost to the upset Kings. I mean, Georgia Tech just pulling upsets left and right. um, you know, Clemson's dead. Um, I mean, right now, and the thing with that is for Florida State, they can't afford a loss if they want to make the playoff
No, yeah.
because the conference
Um,
is just falling off so hard. They can't lose. They have to run the table, or they're not going to make the playoff.
no, absolutely right. Yeah, you mentioned yesterday UNC, fell to Georgia Tech. Uh, Georgia Tech, another team, good coaching job there. That's a 4-4
Heck
team
yeah,
that 3-2 in the ACC brings them level with
yeah.
North Carolina, a team that had no business being anywhere near that.
Mm-mm.
2 wins from bowl eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned Louisville is a weird loss to Pitt because Pitt turns around and gets just destroyed at Notre Dame, 58-7.
Yeah.
Um, just Notre Dame just ran all over them. I don't even think
They
Hartman
did.
had a touchdown. He didn't. He had 2 interceptions, but uh,
Yeah.
just a weird one. Yeah, you look at that ACC now, it's Florida State and kind of everyone else. Louisville's is sitting there in second place,
Yeah,
4-1, and Virginia Tech, maybe the real big surprise of that conference, sitting there at
yeah,
three and 1.
3-1. As bad as as bad as things have been at times. they won two in a row there. Two dominant wins actually. I mean, since that Florida State loss, I mean they beat Wake by 30-13, blew out Syracuse. I mean,
Hmm. And
that's
they
be
visit Louisville
interesting.
next week.
Yeah,
Hmm.
this Saturday. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, and Louisville's got a manageable schedule. They Virginia
They
Tech,
really do.
Virginia at Miami,
Mm-hmm.
who's
Mm-hmm.
disappointing, and home versus Kentucky team that's in free fall, which we'll get to
Yeah.
in a second. But yeah, the ACC, like you said, it's less room for error now for Florida State, but it
Yeah.
also kind of makes it seem like okay, they should have this now. They should
They should. I
they
mean,
should be able to
they
cruise,
shouldn't.
and
Yeah.
to their credit, they have been.
Yeah, they've been handling business.
They had the Boston College scare, and then turned around, and after that, we're like, okay, well, took care business at Clemson, and then they've blown out
Mm-hmm.
the next four games. They go to Pitt next week, and don't see any reason why they shouldn't do what Notre Dame
Uh-huh.
did. And of course,
Right.
that huge Miami game, it's a rivalry, but based on how they're playing, Florida State should have no trouble with Miami. They get North Alabama,
No.
obviously, and then they go to the Swamp for that rivalry game in the year. So again, rivalry games, you never know, but you should know. Florida State should
No.
go into
They
that
should be
ACC
fine.
title game unbeaten.
Yeah, they definitely should.
And
Probably playing, I would guess, Louisville, probably, but
you
who
almost want to
knows?
say the winner of that Louisville Virginia Tech game might be it.
Might be the de facto, yeah, Florida State opponent.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's check out Virginia Tech. Their remaining schedule at Louisville, at Boston College, home for NC State, at Virginia. Those are winnable games with the way they've been playing.
They are. They all are.
Yeah.
The only thing is, do you really want to see Florida State and Virginia Tech again, considering Florida State already beat them by
Yeah.
22?
Well, the ACC probably doesn't, but I don't think they're going to get the matchup they want this year because
No.
before we leave the ACC, let's talk about the Clemson Tigers.
Wow.
This is what really happens when your dynasty starts to fall. For all of
Yeah.
those, every article we've ever been written about Nick
Mhm.
Saban's dynasty has fallen.
Yeah.
This is actually what it looks like.
This.
Dabo Swinney refused to adapt to the transfer
Mm-hmm.
portal,
Yep.
to NIL, and
Mm-hmm.
they're paying for it. A loss at an NC State team that's not great, a very
No.
mediocre NC State team.
Yep.
Um, and they just don't look good on offense. Garrett Riley coming
Nope.
in has not helped them.
If I'm Garrett Riley, I'm getting the heck out of there before my name gets tarnished. Because
I
it's
mean,
not, I don't think it's him. I
no,
mean,
I don't. It's
we saw it with DJ since Trevor left. I mean, they've been a free fall.
yeah, and you wonder, is it one of those programs where they need like almost like a Jimbo Fisher, where they just need a quarterback that's just an absolute stud,
Mm-hmm.
star, like top one or two in the sport
Mm-hmm.
quarterback to actually make their offenses run, and they don't just they don't seem to have the studs they usually do on offense. Those big
Mm-mm.
receivers like a T
Nope.
Higgins that just go up and
Yeah.
just win those one on
I
one
mean,
battles. And it's
exactly.
not getting easier for Clemson. They get
No.
Notre Dame next week. They get
Yeah,
Georgia, a
that's
resurgent Georgia Tech team. They get North
yeah.
Carolina, and then they end a rivalry game at South Carolina.
They could very
Um,
well lose all four of those games, and I would not be shocked.
yeah, exactly. Then that's the scary thing. Like they could finish 4-8 this season, and
Four and
you kind of
eight.
look at it and you'd be shocked at the record. But when you watch them play, you're like, okay, yeah, that's about right.
Because the thing is, though, is they moved the ball against NC State from between the 20 and the 20 wasn't bad at all, but they
Mm-mm.
cannot score. They have
No.
no weapons. They're just a bad team. And it all starts with Dabo and just his inability or his unwanting to change. And you have to adapt to the game. The game doesn't stay the same. It doesn't matter who you are. What you've done in the past, that's not going to help you.
Hmm.
this old shucks, old school stick that he likes to have. It was cute at one point, but that's not gonna. People are tired of that.
Yeah.
When you're not winning, no one enjoys the character. And
Mm-mm.
his little excuses, his little weird little press conferences, etc. That's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
cut it. Like he's gonna get some probably a little more benefit because of the what he's had, but it's starting to look like he might be at the end. It's coming sooner than a lot of people thought, but and it's getting ugly quick.
Yeah. Um, I don't have anything to add to that. Yeah, it's getting ugly, and if he doesn't do something to adapt and change, then yeah, that's going to be the end of Clemson's. A great run for them. A great run
Been
for
a heck
any
of a run.
program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely a heck of a run. But I mean, you look at it too, just the quarterbacks that they had. I mean, they had. I mean, you even go before. I mean, you had he didn't beat like South Carolina at the time, but Taj Boyd was a heck of a quarterback at Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then of course they go to Deshaun Watson. I mean, we know how great Deshaun was. I forget the guy in between. I mean, he wasn't a bad quarterback. The
Oh,
guy,
Kelly Bryant.
yeah, Kelly Bryant. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't bad. I mean, he still took him to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's quite the heck of a run of quarterbacks.
No,
So I
yeah, they
mean,
won two national titles.
two national titles. And I saw
Played
something like,
in
hey, and there was a stretch where I mean, they've lost more this year than they lost in like 4 years straight.
yeah,
When doing some of that stretch, like
and they played won two national titles and played in what, 4 or 5 national title games.
yeah,
See
playoff a
what they
couple
lost.
times.
Hmm.
And they
Yeah,
lost in the semifinal in 20. I mean, so I mean they no, I mean every year is pretty much for a while it was where is Alabama going to play Clemson? I mean that was a conversation. Is anybody else going to
yeah.
play for a title for a while?
People were getting sick of Alabama
Yeah.
Clemson. We got the 4 matchups. Everyone assumed to be
Hmm.
5.
Yeah.
Um, not so much.
Hmm.
Uh, but other than that, it was kind of a pretty tame, boring day. College football. We mentioned Georgia. Uh, started slow, but then did what they do and just leaned on Florida. Ohio State,
Yeah.
same thing, kind of started slow and then pulled away from Wisconsin in the second half.
Hmm.
Um, Penn State, kind of same thing, a little struggle, kind of not struggle win over Indiana, but a
They had a
sloppy
big
one.
struggle. I mean,
Yeah.
Indiana was right there. I mean, if Indiana has any type of offense, they win that game, I
Mhm.
think. Like, and then,
Yeah, I know that's true. Um,
at the end there, they had their
just ugly.
opportunities. Yeah, I mean, they're just a bad football program. But and then
Yeah.
Maryland, that was a shock.
Oh, yeah. Maryland has
Going
just,
to
speaking of teams that
Northwestern,
have
and yeah, really, that
fallen
magic is
off.
gone. I mean,
Hmm.
we were high on Maryland coming in and thought, man, they could really cause some issues. I don't know if I believe that anymore.
No, and yeah, they just like you said now they have what is that their third straight loss, or did they get a win in there? At least 3 out of 4.
think they got, let's see,
Um,
yeah, I
yeah, so
think
I'm
they
trying to.
lost three. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
they've
yeah,
lost
three
three
in
in
a
a row.
row.
They
I mean,
the
Ohio
Ohio
State,
State.
not a big deal.
Mm-mm,
I mean, they had a heck of a first half. Then Ohio State just out athleted them in the second. But yeah, Illinois at home, that's a bad loss this year. Horrible loss.
mm-hmm. Real bad loss.
Northwestern, I mean, it's at Northwestern a little bit tricky, but you can't lose that if you're supposed to be a decent team. If you're trying to
Mm-hmm,
show that you're a real football program and that you're come around, that you've moved from mediocrity to a team that needs to be respected, you can't lose that game. No way.
and especially because starting out the way they did, not only was there
Yeah,
talk, okay, maybe no one expected them to win the Big Ten, but they could have
yeah, no
snuck
way.
in maybe the New Year's Six. They could have gotten to 10
Yeah,
wins if they had knocked off one of the big three. Well, now the remaining
exactly.
schedule, It's 2
They
home
might not
games.
win the
They're
game.
both Penn State and Michigan. Yeah. And then their 2 road games are at a kind of a spry Nebraska team who's better than people
Yeah.
thought. And
Hmm.
then Rutgers, speaking of teams that are better than thought, 6-2 Rutgers.
Yeah.
They end
Yeah.
up
No.
there in Piscataway to end the season. Yeah, that's no guarantee that Maryland wins one of those games to get to 6 wins.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Um,
a way different than what we saw. I mean, and we were thinking, man, Michigan and Penn State going into Annapolis? No, not
mhm,
Annapolis. College Park. Excuse me.
mhm,
College Park. Wow, those that could be. And I don't necessarily see that anymore.
mhm,
Based on the last, I'll say the last 2 games. I mean, benefit of the doubt, Ohio State. No one really thought that they were going to win at the Horseshoe, but the
mhm,
last 2 games, if you're showing that you're a different type of team, that's not how you do it. Because Illinois is horrible, Northwestern is bad.
mhm,
Yeah, and even those road games. I mean, Nebraska's what 3 in a row now. I mean, it hasn't
mhm.
been against good opponents, but 5 and 3,
They're
so they're on the edge of bowl eligibility themselves.
they're winning. That's
Yeah,
what
they're winning
matters.
games. They're winning
Um,
games, and Rutgers winning games. I mean, those are 2 programs that have looked abysmal the last couple of years, and yeah,
and Rutgers gets their shot on the big time next week. They host Ohio State. Um,
that's what they do.
so we'll see what they're really made of.
Yeah.
And then I guess we'll see SEC. Uh, mentioned Georgia, Ohio State, easy win over Vandy. Um,
Hmm.
Tennessee looked like they were kind of dominating Kentucky early, and then Kentucky fought
Hmm.
back, showed some fight uh, in that game, but they fell short at the end. Tennessee gets a 6-point win.
Yeah.
Um, Kentucky, another team that after just like Maryland started 5-0, they've lost 3 in a row now. Not bad losses by any stretch. At Georgia, I think almost demoralized them how bad they got beat there. Because now
Kind of
they've
did.
lost
It
2 home
kind of,
games in a row versus Missouri and
yeah.
Tennessee, which aren't bad losses, but they're very winnable games for a team like Kentucky.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so,
I don't know, that Georgia loss. I think just how it happened just really changed their whole season.
hmm
Like they haven't looked, just don't have that same feeling you did about Kentucky. I mean, they were
yeah,
I don't know, just doesn't seem the same. And really, I don't, for as good of a coach as Mark Stoops was, kind of his comments after that game, kind of didn't help out the program. Yeah,
no, yeah, you can't uh, basically just tell your players they're not good enough.
yeah,
And maybe we, put too much stock in the results and didn't look at the schedule enough because that those first 5 wins, Ball State,
yeah.
Eastern
I mean, it was
Kentucky,
nothing.
Akron, Vandy, and a weak Florida team. That's not,
Yeah.
not the
I
greatest.
mean, yeah. I mean, we may have overhyped them a little bit, but you look at the rest of the schedule. Luckily for them, Mississippi State's coming to town.
No, they go to Starkville.
Oh, they do. Yeah, but I mean,
hmm
they should be okay. I would think.
Yeah,
I would
you
think they should be
should.
good.
Auburn
Should be
beat
fine there.
Mississippi
Yeah,
State handily yesterday,
yeah.
so
And
if
then we go there. Then that's South
mhm,
Carolina at Louisville. I mean, what is their record now? 5-3. I mean, if they don't beat,
mhm,
yeah, I mean, Mississippi, they should be at least get the ball eligibility with Mississippi State
mhm,
at South Carolina. Who knows about that game? Because the Gamecocks are very, they're they're a bad team as well. I
mhm.
mean,
Yeah, they lost yesterday to A&M and just another kind of sloppy game. A&M didn't
yeah.
really look that impressive in it either.
Mm.
Um, good second quarter.
But I mean, that's
Um,
4 straight losses for the Gamecocks. Yikes.
mhm. Yeah, and then let's see, we just mentioned Auburn did get their first SEC win under Hugh
First SEC
Freeze.
win.
Um, good for the Tigers, I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Huh.
get uh, doesn't get easier. They do go to Vandy next week. That's a winnable game for them. Then at a
Yeah.
struggling Arkansas team that'll
So they might get
be
this. They
desperate
might get
themselves
the
to turn
bowl
it around.
eligible. But I mean, I mean, their next three games. I mean, at Vandy, at Arkansas, New Mexico State. I
Mhm.
mean, they could very well going into Iron Bowl. They could be what 7-4.
Yeah, and they've even though they lost last week to Ole Miss, they at least looked a lot better in that loss to Ole
They
Miss, and
looked a
then
lot,
looked
yeah.
solid in a win today over State.
Hmm.
Like you said, they should at least win at Vandy and then home for New Mexico State to get to six in bowl eligibility.
Hmm.
Um, and the way
I mean,
Arkansas has played, maybe with this
they could
bye
be
week.
very well be 7-4 coming into
Hmm.
Iron Bowl. And we know that it doesn't matter what the record is at the Iron Bowl at that point. It's just, especially down there, especially down in old Lee County of Jordan Hare Stadium. Boy, boy, boy. But plenty of time for talk about that one later. But yeah, I mean Auburn. I mean overall, I mean if in his first year, if Hugh Freeze can go 8-4, even 7-5, I mean that's
Hmm.
heck of a job considering how bad the quarterback play is, the kind of uh, just the lack of recruiting that's happened in Auburn in the last
Hmm.
5-6 years. Because I mean, even before Harson, I mean they weren't recruiting well
No.
as well as they should have been.
Yeah, no, the end
And
of the
that's a
Gus
weird
era
thing. I
wasn't great
mean,
either.
yeah, the thing is though, is this so like I understand Brian Harson coming in, he doesn't understand SEC recruiting. Just because I mean he's not from that area, so I mean I don't think you really have an idea of the magnitude of it if you've not a that's not what you grew up in or coach came up in. But I'm just shocked at how bad Gus was that day. I mean, Gus
Hmm.
knows the SEC and still didn't do it right. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um. Yeah. No. What's it? Next week. Big games on the schedule next week: Missouri at Georgia, and then of course that monster LSU Alabama matchup in
Hmm.
Tuscaloosa.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's basically the West comes down to that.
Pretty much.
Ole Miss still right there, but they would need Alabama to lose twice. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the tiebreakers are if LSU beats Bama and we end up with a three-way tie
I would
between those two
assume
and Ole Miss.
probably whatever the final. I probably assume it come down to whatever the final rankings are.
Maybe, yeah,
Whoever the highest ranked team is. I would assume that because I would assume the SEC probably would want the best. I don't know. I don't know how it
yeah.
would
That's
go out.
I'm gonna need to
Hopefully, we
look
don't
that
have to
up.
find that. Hopefully, we don't have to find that out.
Yeah, hopefully Alabama plays its first real complete game of the season, or at least since Middle Tennessee, I guess.
Yeah.
Tide can definitely not afford a slow start next
No.
week
Not against
against
that
that LSU
offense.
offense.
Yeah.
But you're also interested to see what the Tide defense can do against the LSU offense.
Hmm.
I think that's going to be the big matchup to watch. Can they slow Jaden Daniels down? Can they
Yeah.
keep him from
Force some
making
three
those
and
big
outs.
backbreaking plays? Force some 3 and outs, force a turnover, or two or
Hmm.
three. Can they on the other
Contain
side of
them
the
from
ball?
running.
We've seen that LSU defense struggle this year. So can they hit the
Yeah.
big plays that everyone else has hit against them? Can they get the running game going? Are they going to
Exactly.
use Jalen Milroe's feet more? Yeah, we'll
That's
see.
yeah. 'Cause I mean, I'm sure they've been doing a lot this week off there, and hopefully, the main thing I just want to see is just continue. I mean, they did a much better job against Tennessee with the lack of flags. I mean, there weren't all the false starts, none of the self. They didn't hurt themselves with the false starts or dumb penalties. So
Hmm.
we have to continue that. But please, they are going to put Perkins on that left side. Proctor needs
Yeah,
help. We're gonna have to, you know, extra tight end on that side, H back, whatever we need to do. because he's a young guy. He's gonna get better. I mean, first year has been rough, but it's gonna be a hell of an experience for his future. Because by the time he leaves Tuscaloosa, he's gonna be great.
Yeah, if Tommy Rees ever needed to prove his prove himself to the Bama faithful, it's in whatever game plan he's coming up with for next week because he needs to figure out
Hmm.
how to contain Perkins, how to protect that line, how to protect Jalen Milrow, how
Hmm.
to use his legs as a weapon, get that running game going, so we can have
Yep.
longer drives, keep the ball out of Jaden
Hmm.
Daniels' hands.
Yep. Exactly.
Um,
Because we know that if Jalen has time, we know he has an arm, and we know he should be able to do fine against that secondary.
mhm.
But will he have the time to do it? That'll be the question.
Yeah,
Because that's
absolutely.
the thing, we can't have many three and outs against that explosive LSU offense.
Mm-mm.
You can't give them a short field. You can't turn the ball over. Because no matter, it doesn't seem since that Florida State game, that offense has been lights out. And honestly, right now, I would say even with the two losses, you'd have to have Jaden Daniels near at the very top of your Heisman race right now because his
Absolutely.
numbers have
His
been
numbers.
ridiculous.
Just passing alone, 2,500, 25 TDs to just three picks. And that's, I said, that's just passing alone. I don't have his
Yeah,
rushing numbers in front of me, but
exactly. He's putting up
he,
crazy numbers.
yeah. So that's probably the marquee game next week in the country,
Oh yeah,
not just the
of course.
SEC.
Yeah, Camden will be there, of course. And
Mhm. It is the only, beside Missouri at Georgia, it looks like the only, Washington, USC.
yeah.
Three matchups between ranked teams.
Hmm.
And a good shout out to James Madison and Air Force staying unbeaten,
Yeah,
uh,
unbeaten.
battling for that New Year's Six spot. Right now, Air
Yeah,
Force
they
is ranked
yeah.
higher. Um, well, I guess
And of
I don't even
course,
know if James Madison wouldn't even be eligible, would they?
can't even qualify. So that
That's some
I was
bullshit.
listening to one of the athletic podcasts. They do a good job on the college football, and
Hmm.
they were talking about. I guess they found out the answer that James Madison won't even be included in the rankings because they're not eligible.
That's such a dumb rule.
That's so dumb. I just don't understand what they're trying to accomplish with that at all.
Yeah, it's punishing teams for making a leap up to a tougher
Bigger
division.
level, and if you succeed at that level right away, more power to you. Let
Yeah,
them in. I mean,
it's
what James
ridiculous.
Madison is doing is amazing.
Hmm.
And if they run the table, like now, out of all the things that the NCAA's messed up, you know how many fans you would. I mean, you're not gonna get too many fans, but I mean, you know how much more respect you might gain
Hmm.
a little, just even a little respect, just to lift that rule. I mean, you can easily lift that rule, change it. No one's
Yeah.
gonna be mad at you for changing that at all.
No,
Like
no one at all is going to be mad that you let James Madison.
into the New
Uh,
Year's Six, or even
yeah,
a bowl game at all. They're saying the only way James Madison can get into a bowl game is if they don't have enough slots to fill a bowl game.
that's stupid.
Yeah. What is that? Which means that at that point, James Madison would go to the dumbest bowl game, playing like a 6-6 or a 5-7 team.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, is that
maybe
what?
they get in to beat
Yeah,
some, big conference team or something, but
yeah, yeah. But come
we'll
on.
see. Anything else, college football you want to touch on? I think
No,
we got it. Like I said, it's a
I
pretty
think we
tame
got
week.
most of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty tame week. Just some weird stuff in the Big 12 and the ACC, man.
Hmm. All right. Moving on to today's see NFL action. Speaking of some weird stuff going on this week, the Bengals they didn't throttle the 49ers, but I mean, what's his face? Joe Burrow had a game,
Hmm.
threw all over them. They forced a lot of turnovers. Brock Purdy threw two picks.
He's
The
come down to
Niners have
earth a
now
little
lost
bit.
three in a row themselves.
Yeah,
The Broncos, that was the big story today. The
yeah.
Broncos
Broncos beat
upset
the
the Chiefs and
Chiefs.
then just upset them, held them to without a touchdown for the first time since what, like 2018?
Yeah,
Um,
craziness.
I think the next best story was the Titans wearing those Oilers throwbacks. today.
Heck yeah,
They look really good.
they did look good.
And then they won too, didn't they? They beat the Falcons,
Yep,
I believe.
yep,
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, 4 catches, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns. Um, that is a very Madden line.
yep.
Um,
With the rookie quarterback,
yeah, Will Levis. How about that first
yeah,
start,
that was
right?
big game. Yeah, big dog. Yeah, big game.
Four touchdowns in his first start.
Yeah.
Um, and Derrick Henry, 100 yards. Maybe the Titans are trying to get going after a lackluster start to the season.
Hmm.
Let's see, Jaguars went away to the Steelers, and they're improving.
Was that
Uh,
5 in a row for the Jaguars? And
Something like that, yeah.
they're
Bryce Young
really
gets his
looking
first
good.
win as an NFL QB. Gets the Panthers their first win of the season. He leads a very
Yeah.
Bryce Young game-winning drive to
Hmm.
get a walk-off field goal late.
And
He,
you like to see that for him just because, going up against CJ Stroud and CJ's getting all the hype and everybody's like,
mhm.
oh, maybe they messed up taking Bryce. And then Bryce, outgunned him.
Yeah, it wasn't a Herculean effort, 235 and a touchdown, but hey, it won a game.
And won a game
And
and
he
got
made
to
a couple
play.
throws.
And
There was one particular fourth down throw to Adam
hmm
Thielen on that last drive where he, I mean, just lasered it in there.
yeah,
Um,
for a young quarterback, Adam Thielen is probably a great guy to have there. Mr. Dependable.
yeah.
Kind of his go-to guy.
Um, let's see what else. Seahawks got a win at home over the Browns. It's a pretty good
Hmm.
one for them. Eagles a win over the Washington, who always just plays them tough.
Always.
I'll give a big let's see. This week's "Why the fuck couldn't you do that last week?" award goes to Sam Howell when I picked him up for a fantasy start
When
last week when my quarterbacks were on bye.
they were
Didn't do
horrible
shit.
against
This
the
week throws for
Giants.
damn near 400 yards and four
Yeah.
touchdowns.
Like what?
And
The Commanders are like the most up and down. You don't know what they're going to be week to week.
yeah, that is.
Because I
There's
mean,
no
this
way
is a
Ron
team.
Rivera can be there after the year, right? They gotta just
No.
promote B enemy.
How do you go from only scoring 14 points against a hapless Giants team to being able to put 31 on the Eagles?
hmm
Yes, they always play the Eagles tough, but that's just wild. Some of
Yeah.
their losses, get slaughtered by the Bears, but then go into Atlanta and get the win. To lose to the Giants, they're just. If you're a fan, if you're a Commanders fan, you, week to week, you just don't know, don't know what's gonna happen
No, and I
at
feel
all.
like that's probably the story for a lot of teams this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are week to week,
Even the yeah,
no consistency.
even the top teams, like they
Yeah,
just struggle. The Eagles, everyone, it really hasn't felt like they've really exploded this year. They
no.
exploded today in that fourth quarter. We saw the
Hmm.
Chiefs today, like, and maybe Mahomes might be injured, but he looked awful against a pretty hapless Denver team. The 49ers, who looked just absolutely unbeatable the first 5 weeks. Like we said,
And
they've lost
now
three in a row now, right? Like,
3 in a row, and not even against the. You look at the teams they've lost to. They
mhm,
lost to. They lost to Cleveland.
mhm. Which
The
tough
Bengals
defense,
are,
but
yeah,
yeah,
but no way that the 49ers should have lost that game. And they
no.
had the bad loss last week.
hmm
And then, the Bengals are getting better, but they torched them.
When you wonder if it's the league figured something out about their offense, or is it just them struggling because they've scored 17 points 3 straight weeks now on losses, and before
Yeah,
that the lowest they
they
scored
were
was
putting up.
30. Yeah.
Yeah, they're putting up points. I don't
Um,
know. Like after Dallas, they've kind of fallen apart.
yeah. And we mentioned, yeah, there's times, like today, your Cowboys look pretty great against the Rams, 43 to
Amazing.
20 win.
Yeah, we
Um,
put it on them early, kept the big lead. The CD
mhm.
Lamb, huge game,
Whew, yeah, big game.
huge game.
Dak looked
Like they,
great.
yeah.
You wonder, Ravens, I mean, solid win.
Hmm.
I guess, it wasn't as impressive as last week's, just beating the hell out of a good Detroit team. They go to Arizona and you think should be the easy win. And they actually, the score. They only won by 7 points, but
Yeah.
that score, was late. I think I cussed them out because I picked them in the picks column this week, and they kept me from a perfect week
Oh.
because they botched an onside kick because they were up 31-15. I think I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Gus Edwards, big day for him, 3 touchdowns. And then uh, Arizona scores, doesn't get the two though, so they make it 31-21. Cool, Ravens are still covering, and then they botch the
Mm-hmm.
onside kick, and then let Arizona drive down a couple plays and kick the field goal for the little backdoor cover.
Mm.
But it's no, yeah, like we said, no team just looks downright the absolute best in the league
No.
right now.
Yeah, there's no one you're
Um,
like there. No one's head and shoulders above anybody else. And as we've seen, anybody can lose any week. I
Yeah, and the
mean,
Bills, they bounced back and beat Tampa Bay on Thursday, and they had a great start to that game, but kind of that second half let the
they're a
Bucks back in
team.
it. Um,
Yeah, they're a team that you don't know. And then also, what Josh Allen are you gonna get?
hmm Well, that
Because
and they
he,
had another like last year when they lost Von Miller. Losing Matt
hmm
Milano seems to have hurt that defense a lot.
yeah,
But yeah, and then yeah, like I said, everyone else just the NFL just seems so up and down this year. The Vikings, they're now 4-4 after a win over Green Bay.
but
The
their season,
Chargers
but they're
look are
starting to
looking
get.
really good right now on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, but I was gonna say,
Um,
look, but what's the name towards Achilles, so he's done for the year.
who?
Uh, Kirk Cousins towards Achilles today, so he's
Oh,
done.
I missed that actually. Who was their
Yeah.
backup there?
Who is? Yeah, that I didn't even think of to look.
Yeah, let me
But
see. I'll
yeah, he
look that up
tore.
real quick.
Yeah, I mean Adam Schefter was reporting it this afternoon. I saw it come across my thing for fantasy, and then yeah,
Mm.
so yeah, Kirk Cousins
Jaron
tore the
Hall.
Shannon Hall.
Um,
He's the kid from BYU, right?
yep. I was gonna ask you 5 points if you can name. He is a rookie, I believe. Looks like
Probably a 30-year-old because those BYU guys are always old.
he's 25. So yeah,
Little
25-year-old
older.
rookie, a fifth round pick this past draft out of
Yeah.
BYU, as you mentioned.
But I'm saying,
Um,
no matter what, I mean, you go from Kirk Cousins, and no matter what we say about Kirk Cousins, and he's always going to be considered that guy that doesn't win big games, but his stats are nice.
mhm.
Like, that's going to be such a drop off. Like, if there's not, if folks will learn to respect Kirk Cousins, it'll be after this season, because the rest of that season is going to be tough. They're going to have to get
Mhm.
someone else in there.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's about to be, and they don't have a lot of margin for error. They're 2 games behind Detroit,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
Detroit.
they got Jaron Hall, and then they have Nick Mullins, who has to sit out one more game because he's on the IR, but he can come back after that. What they have to sit out 4 weeks or something after they go on the IR. So he has one more week on the IR, and that, yeah, that's you. They're gonna have to sign somebody because they're find some trade, do something because that's Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall is not gonna get you anything at all. Like
No,
that's a
especially
tough,
Detroit has a very winnable home game tomorrow night against
yeah,
Las Vegas.
yeah, for
So
sure.
that would put them, if they did indeed win, they'd be 6-2. Minnesota
Hmm.
4-4. So that's what 2.5 games back there.
Yeah.
And then just we mentioned that's just a. Let's see. Can I look at the playoff standings right now? Yeah, let me look at that. What kind of log jam there is? So we're getting to that point in the season, about right around the halfway point.
Yeah.
Um, if you're looking at NFC right now, Minnesota would be the 7 seed because they have the tiebreaker over New Orleans. But if you look right
Hmm.
there, you got San Fran, Minnesota, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Washington's even kind of right there. They're all kind of jumbled in
Yeah.
there, all
So
those teams for just
yeah,
two
Minnesota's gonna
playoff
fall
spots,
pretty
really.
quick there.
Yeah.
And
And
that
when you look at,
yeah, and that you'd have to think that with Kirk Cousins going down, Detroit should run away with that division now. Like,
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Like, if Detroit
they
doesn't
should.
win the North this year, they'll never win the
No,
North.
yeah, I think that absolutely be a disappointment considering, the Bears are in that division and a disappointing
Yeah,
Green Bay team, a
yeah,
down Green Bay team.
exactly.
Um, I think one of the interesting things about today with the Seattle win and San Fran loss, Seattle is now first place in that division. They would be a two
Yeah,
seed right now.
yeah. And San Francisco dropped to the 60.
hmm Which I don't
They
think any of the top
Anybody
seeds
would have
want to
saw
see
that.
happen. They want the Niners to win their division, so they don't
Oh
have
yeah,
to get
yeah,
them. But
yeah. I mean, congratulations, you get the Niners. I
yeah,
mean, I've seen that happen with my Cowboys 2 years ago. We got the Niners, and then, that was a hell of a Niners team there. But went to the NFC title game. Very well could have been in the Super Bowl that year.
hmm it's even bigger logjam in the AFC, where
Oh
if
yeah,
you're
the
starting
AFC
with
is
the 5 seed, the Bills at 5-3, then you got the
yeah.
Steelers behind them.
Oh,
Steelers,
exactly.
Browns, Jets, Bengals all have 3 losses, and then right behind them, Texans, Titans, and
Houston, all
Raiders all
three and
only have
four.
4 losses. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's gonna be a wild season.
yeah,
And even,
absolutely, yeah.
there's no one, and even in the AFC, I mean, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs, but I mean, people are gonna say, it's a lot, it's not that big of a deal, it's a loss. But you look at that loss, I mean, I don't know, the Chiefs they've been winning games, but it hasn't, I don't know, just hasn't been convincing, hasn't been pretty, and they do that a lot, but they just don't have for the most part, they don't have the offensive weapons. Of course, they have Kelsey, but none of those receivers scare you.
Mm-mm.
I
And I
mean, you
think,
got
yeah, that's the
Marquez
thing.
Valdez-Scantling, Rashi Rice, the Pancheco. Like, not, I mean, they're good because Mahomes is their quarterback.
Yeah,
It's
because you
kind
have
of like
Mahomes
with
and you have Travis Kelsey and you have Andy
yeah,
Reid calling the plays. Yeah.
exactly. Those guys go anywhere else, and we never hear their names again. It's kind
Mm-mm.
of like for a while when teams would take flyers on like the Patriots wide receivers, and then they'd leave New England after getting out of the system with Tom Brady and them, and never hear from them again.
Yeah. um,
Because wasn't it what was it Brown? Someone left, and it looked so good in in New England, and I think he went to Seattle, and it was just terrible. And
oh, I do know who you're talking about. Yeah. Was it Troy Brown? Um,
Troy Brown, yeah, it's so
uh,
just like just a excellent receiver in New England, and never never really heard from him again.
mm-mm.
Like, yeah,
Um,
yeah, but that's
but
a
yeah, next week should be
mhm,
a fun weekend in NFL. We
yeah.
got
Oh
Miami
yeah,
and Kansas City. They're playing in Germany. You
that's
got
an 8 o'clock game.
yeah, 8:30. Seattle and Baltimore probably maybe your marquee game on the Sunday slate. Your Cowboys go to Philly.
Yeah, and
Buffalo
that's
goes to Cincy. And that kind of recent rivalry. That's
yeah,
next week's
yeah.
Sunday night game.
Phew. Yeah, that's a heck of a weekend.
Yeah,
And a
San
lot of
Francisco gets a bye to try to fix their
fix some
troubles.
fix their issues. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so it's one of those seasons where like we said, there's no team that's really kind of like college football. There's just no team that's
no,
far and away. There's a few teams at the top. You can probably say even with this, Kansas City laws, they're still because
they're
Pat
still
Mahomes, because of what we mentioned, Pat
yeah,
Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelsey, they're going to be there.
they're gonna
Miami,
be there.
as long as Tua is healthy, Miami seems to be just fine, and as long as Tyreek
Yeah,
Hill is just ridiculously fast.
yeah,
Um, Baltimore,
and then
but you always mention their consistency is a problem with them. If they can get
right,
going consistently, then yeah. But also they've had their 2 losses this year were just really bad.
yeah,
The Pittsburgh loss they should have. put that game away long before, and then lost to a
Right.
bad Colts team
Yeah.
earlier in the season.
And
Since these troubles, Buffalo's inconsistent. Cincinnati's offense has, games like today where they look great, but then we don't know if they're going to do that consistently.
exactly.
Um, so yeah, it's be interesting. Like we said, we're around the halfway point in the NFL season, and
Hmm.
I don't think we have any answers as to who was going to
Hmm.
win.
No.
Uh,
Every week, like no one is. Yeah, everybody's. I mean, yeah, we have an idea of who's decent, but even the decent teams have not.
mhm.
Don't wow you every week.
No.
No, Philly has been winning games, but Philly has not had a game yet where you're like, man, this is a great team. I mean, they're
No,
finding
yeah.
ways to win, and that's the most important thing. But
Hmm.
Jalen doesn't look as good as he did last year. Um, though, I mean, long term though, that's probably NFC just because just what they've done with signing people. I mean, you see with the trade they got this week, they got the safety from the Titans for like
Hmm.
basically nothing, like basically an all pro guy. I mean, the moves that Philly makes draft wise and just with trades and everything is just ridiculous. Like their front office is just like destroying everybody else's front office, making
Yeah,
teams look
they
stupid.
definitely working their magic on the rest of
Yeah,
the league there.
I mean, we
Um,
just and the trade deadline's coming up this week, isn't it? Is that this
yeah,
week?
that's interesting. It looks like the Titans have now told Derrick Henry they're not going to trade him after that was floated around. The
Hmm.
Broncos get that big win today, so do they want to trade like a Jerry Judy now? Do they,
Yeah.
like you said, Minnesota? Are they going to be in the quarterback market? Is there someone out there that a
Did they
backup
feel?
somewhere that might get traded?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting, trade deadline coming up here.
Hmm.
The NFL, usually pretty tame. You
Yeah,
might have
compared to other
one decent
sports.
player go somewhere.
Yeah, they're
But
definitely not
yeah,
NBA like at the trade deadline.
no,
Yeah,
yeah.
nothing like that. Yeah, but yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, big slate just coming up week.
Hmm.
That NFL, like for my Cowboys just find out it's another big competition games, and what do we do? We got destroyed in the last one and going on the road again into Philly. I mean, see what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Like I said, my Ravens, they've won three in a row, but has it, it doesn't inspire confidence for some
Yeah,
reason. It's just one of those years. But,
yeah, it's one of those years you don't know week to week,
but you beat
and
a good Seattle team at home next week, and then okay.
that
Then,
was good. Yeah, we go to 7-2. Man,
yeah.
that's where
Um,
you want to be at.
but yeah. Yeah. Elsewhere, let's see. World Series, of course, started this week after
Mhm.
um, the two upsets. The Rangers upsetting Houston to make it to the World Series, and then the D-backs winning
Mhm.
two must-win games in Philly to
In Philly. Wow,
advance. And then we had the first walk-off home run in the World Series since like 2018, 2017 in
yeah,
game one, and then game two, D-backs come back and crush them 9-1.
yeah.
So
Um,
Monday night, we'll move to Arizona. Um, it looks like it'll
honestly,
be a
this,
pretty entertaining World Series. Not the teams or
yeah,
the markets that the Major League Baseball wanted, but who cares?
yeah. I mean, if it's good baseball. I mean,
Hmm.
two great stories. I mean, just with just with where these teams were just 2 years ago. I mean,
Hmm.
the Rangers well over 100 losses. Arizona kind of in that same boat and what they've been able to accomplish. I mean, completely different than how they did it. I mean, the Texans kind of put their money up and got big names, and
Hmm.
Arizona kind of went that small ball. The workers, kind of
Work their
no
farm
real
system
big,
up. Yeah.
yeah, no real big names there, but and had a horrible start to the season. I barely made the playoffs, and then have gone on an epic run. I mean, and then two great stories. Seems to, just two teams that really go out and like to be around each other, play for each other, and if you're a baseball fan, I mean, honestly, that's probably mostly who's watching this. I don't think this is going to get too many casual fans, but honestly, I mean, game one was exciting. I mean,
Yeah,
you had a
no, it's been
home run in the ninth, the walk off in the 11th. I mean, and these are two teams that, I mean, they've been through a lot of adversity. So I mean, just for Arizona, to bounce back like that, not only win game two, but just slaughter the Rangers. I mean, that just shows you just what type of mindset that team has. So I expect this to go 6 or 7 easily.
yeah, for sure. And two teams that really earned it. Arizona went through
Oh yeah,
division winner Milwaukee, and then went through
yeah.
the Dodgers and the Phillies to get here, and the Rangers
Hmm.
maybe probably a tougher one. They had to go through Tampa
And
Bay,
they
and
went
then the
Tampa,
Orioles, and then the
Baltimore, and
the
then the
Astros.
Rangers.
Like they
Yeah, the
went through
Astros. Yeah,
the
both teams
cream of the
went through
crop.
everything they could
Yeah,
have to get to where they were. I mean,
yeah. So like we said, yeah, like you said, it's not casual fans aren't. It's not a L.A. Houston
yeah.
showdown rematch, or not a Braves Houston rematch, or a Braves Orioles 200 win teams. It's not
Hmm.
a sexy matchup,
But it's good baseball.
but it is. Yeah, it's good baseball. Two teams that have earned it and deserve to be here.
Heck yeah,
And then let's see the other big thing in the sports this week. NBA started this past week.
it
Um,
did.
got some good games. That first night, Denver and the Lakers, and Phoenix and Golden State.
Hmm.
Anything? What stands out to you from this first week of NBA action?
No, honestly, just from the first week, I would probably say just Dame's look really good there
Mhm.
in Milwaukee to this point. Got the win over the 76ers on Thursday night. They dropped 39 in his debut there.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, they if they stay healthy, boy, that
Yeah.
Milwaukee team is gonna be tough to beat. You know, that Friday night, not a got the win again. My Mavericks got the win, but just the Luca that Luca shot from the sideline. Have
Oh
you
yeah.
seen that bank shot
Luca,
to
just like
get to get?
ridiculous,
Yeah,
dropping
he's like, yeah,
49 casually.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no, yeah, it's been a fun week so far. I haven't got to see too much of the
Hmm.
action, but it was
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot other than honestly highlights and
mhm.
um, been working some at night, but I've been listening to games, some games on like the XM, because, but yeah, it's been a good start to the season there.
No, yeah, and you see, like you said, you're good win for your Mavs. Yeah,
Yeah,
um, you see your
and then
stars in there. My Pels have started 2-0,
yeah,
looking good. Zion doing Zion things. Wimby down in San Antonio, he's looked pretty good
he's
in
so
his first
good.
couple
Yeah,
games.
he has like he had a big day against the Rockets. 15 points in 21 minutes, so very efficient
Mhm.
game against the Rockets the other night. So
Um,
you definitely see, you see just the beginning of his greatness. Like, I mean, you see what it can translate into. There's definitely not a media hype thing. That he's could definitely be that good. You see signs of it early, so he's definitely gonna be something special.
yeah, absolutely. I think the weirdest week might have been the Bulls. They they have already had a players only meeting, which is just not
Yeah.
a good
Yeah,
sign. But
good.
then Zach Levine goes and drops 51 with no assist.
Yeah.
Um, Man, it's just been a weird, weird week.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Our boy Brandon Miller. I think he's looked solid so far.
Yeah. He's been decent so far.
Yeah, he had a quick stretch, like in just a couple minutes in the fourth quarter of that game earlier this week against I think the Hawks. He
Hmm.
hit two huge threes and a nice layup at the rim
Yeah.
um, to give the Hornets a late lead on what might be a pretty bad Charlotte team. I think by the end of the season, but
Yeah.
it might be fun. Him and Lamelo there, and some of those teams, they get Miles Bridges coming back after his
Hmm.
suspension is up. Um, Be an interesting team, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
the NBA is back. It's good. We'll watch a game here and there, but it really won't really truly follow
Yeah.
it until
It's
after
kind of,
football's over.
yeah. I mean, of course, it always starts in October, but I always look at it as, you kind of get your feet wet, you watch some games here and there. But it really doesn't become like a big thing till after, I'd say those Christmas games is kind of my true start to the NBA season as far as just, watching a lot more games and
Hmm.
stuff starting to really mean more, and you're kind of finding out who's really a contender, and who's kind of may have started off nice but not really that built like that. So
Hmm.
we'll kind of Christmas time and into January is when it really starts to heat up there.
Yeah, I forgot who it was, but a few years ago after the bubble, when they started the next season around
Mhm.
Christmas time, someone suggested, might have been Bill Simmons, I don't know, someone, that the NBA maybe should actually explore starting their season with those Christmas games, and
That
just
might be
moving it
interesting.
back a little and having it finish up like late August, like right before football started. And I thought that was a really interesting idea because they'd overlap with football less, so people would pay a little bit more
Hmm.
attention, at
Exactly.
least during the
Then they would have
playoffs.
their.
And the January NFL, they would have the week. During the week, people would be all about the NBA, and then football
Yeah.
during the weekend, and then once the Super Bowl's over, uh, the NBA would get more eyes, and then
Hmm.
they'd take over part of the summer with MLB, and aside from like All Star Week, they'd probably be the bigger because you'd
Oh
be
yeah,
your
they're gonna be the
stretch run would
bigger.
be June, July, and then August is your
Yeah.
playoffs, or
I
maybe
mean,
late
just
July
as
and then August is your playoffs. You could really
exactly.
all eyes on you there,
Because
but
yeah, pretty much. Because I mean, if you end it right, I mean, if it ends at this time that you know preseason's kind of coming around, but I mean, no one's really watching preseason like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, if your NBA Finals is going up against the NFL preseason, I mean, that's a heck of yeah. That might actually be a heck of an idea. I don't know if they'd ever go for that, but
hmm
I mean, for the most part, they'd have the season to themselves.
hmm yeah, it's
And
I
you're
think it'd
going
be
up
an
against
interesting one, and it'd be a
baseball.
really cool way to kick. The Christmas games are
Yeah,
a big deal anyway, but as your season
right.
openers, I think that'd be really cool
That'd be
too.
huge. Yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah, but I think that does it for anything, unless there's something else in the world of sports you want to touch on real quick.
Just the whole James Harden thing continues to be ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they basically told him to stay at home, before they went on their trips this past week. Get in shape with the. He thought he was going with the team, and they said, "Hey, get in shape." As he came back, but I don't think anybody really knows what's happening with that.
Yeah, that's one to watch. Of course, college basketball's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Is it this week? Next week? It tips off pretty
I
soon.
think I'm pretty sure it's next week.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but the weird thing with college basketball is these secret scrimmage games that really no one knows about till after they happen. Like for example, like last week, Alabama played TCU, and I think they play Wake Forest today. You know, these weird little scrimmage games. I think like Illinois beat Kansas today or something like, or sometime over the weekend. It's like, what do those games really mean? And they get you right for the season.
Hmm.
But there's been some interesting little scrimmage games that really don't get much talked about. But we'll see what that does. Talking college basketball, I guess the biggest thing I guess is of note recently is just the fact that despite all the allegations and all the proof, Kansas pulled out with no issues.
Yeah, what a kind of a waste of 6 years or whatever that FBI
Yeah,
investigation ended up being.
like
And there, Kansas
we,
is the odds-on favorite to win the national title this year with the
yeah,
addition of Hunter
exactly,
Dickinson.
yeah,
Um,
just. But it's just like what you got the NCAA couldn't find anything against Kansas. Like what
mhm.
a what a and I think it was like the Oklahoma State. The coach was like, we deserve an apology because they couldn't go to the tournament that one year, and it's like they did nothing in comparison to what the allegations were against against Kansas there. So yeah, it's just wild how that goes. Because obviously some things have happened that the NCAA clearly overlooked or blatantly missed. I don't know, but it's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's it's it's just another I guess
Blunder.
sticker on the helmet that is the joke of the NCAA.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, and we'll talk about that. Let's see, closer to time.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just well, yeah,
Just
Alabama's preseason 24, and I have no idea what to
24.
expect from this team, which is going to be drastically different.
Such a different team
Hmm.
just because all these transfers, but yet they're all solid transfers.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just how do they gel? If they gel well, it could be an excellent team. Because there's a lot of talent there. I mean, the kid from North Dakota is it North Dakota State? I mean, his
Yeah. Nelson, is that
stats.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just what he's done. I mean, scores, plays defense. I mean, kind of the big man we've missed. I mean, we've had one or the other, either a guy that can score or a guy that plays defense, and he does both. So I mean, that could be a heck. The Estrada guy from the kind of that East Coast small
Hmm.
conference there. But I mean, we've done well in the portal. It's just a matter of what these guys, these mid major guys do, moving up to a tougher level, and just a whole new group of assistant coaches for us. So it'll be interesting to see how everything comes together.
Yeah. See how the freshmen are. See how guys like Rylan Griffin continue to
hmm
improve. You hope.
hmm
Um, you hope to see like a
Sears
guy
is
like
kind of the
Nick.
leader of the team.
Yeah. Um, yeah. You got Mark Sears there. Yeah. It'll be an interesting season, but we can talk a little more in depth about
Yeah.
them uh, next week or so. All right, then, Greg, what has been done up real good for you this week?
Well, I guess just getting ready for Halloween. This is, my daughter's kind of out of it. She's 15 there, so kind of past that past that scene as far as going out trick or treating. Still likes the
Hmm.
candy, of course, but kind of too cool for that stuff. But my son's 9, so he's really big into that, so that's still cool. It's gonna be very cold up here. It's gonna be about 35.
Woo.
So that's gonna be a little chilly Tuesday night, but just the excitement around that, and been watching a lot of Halloween movies because my son enjoys those. He always has. He's been a big Michael Myers fan since a little kid, which is a little weird, but I like it.
I was about to say, yeah. There's a guy who I remembered once had the Halloween theme song as your ringtone. Uh,
I did. I did.
I did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember going off
So.
in class one time. It was funny. Uh,
How about you?
I'll see. Let's see. Last night, getting to you see the original Dexatines line up down in Tuscaloosa. Of course, Blaine was there as well, our site
I
founder,
saw that.
co-founder. A Tuscaloosa staple. A lot of good memories. A lot of memories I don't remember at Dexatine shows in the post college years in Tuscaloosa, but I never saw this particular lineup with all the originals, and they did a little kind of benefit show at Druid City Brewing last night. It was fun to see them. It was
Nice.
at my age. Hey guys, TD here. Not really sure what happened there, but it cut off the last couple of minutes of my recording there. So I was just in the middle of talking about seeing the Dextines on Saturday night. It was a great show. I was specifically talking about being old and going to shows where the band you want to see starts at 11:30 at night. Let's just say I am past the years where I could do that on a regular basis for sure. But as always, thanks for listening. Check out all of our other great podcasts here on the Alabama Take. Check out the alabamatake.com. They're all there in one nice little group. And we have writings sometimes, like Blaine and I, and sometimes Adam, recap the challenge, the Prime series, if you will. Every Thursday afternoon, we just ask a couple of questions. We answer a couple of questions we have about the show. Like I said, mostly me and Blaine on there. Adam hops in when he has time to answer them as well. So if you're a fan of the challenge, do check that out. Like I said, that's Thursday afternoons that post goes up. Check out all the great podcasts wherever you get your podcast. Yada, yada. You know all that drill. Keep it done up real good out there, folks. Eat cornbread, raise hell.